The Gen Z is very much misunderstood nowadays, and a lot of people feel very triggered about them, and they are saying that they're lazy and very disrespectful. But we have actually a very different view on that, and we wanted to share this with you today. Because when you ask boomers or millennials, Petra, me, we are millennials, then they say, hey, they are not willing to work, they're not motivated. All that matters to them is work-life balance and having enough free time so they can enjoy their life. While our generation and the generations before us were just working hard, were living for the company, and they were very motivated and really hardworking people. But we feel that there is going to be a big shift, and the attitude and the change of focus for the Gen Z is actually coming in perfect timing with artificial intelligence, because it is a fact that artificial intelligence will take most of our jobs. And the old 9-to-5 model where people just had to sit in front of the computer every single day is no longer going to work. And Gen Z is balancing that. They already sense it. They know that this is not sustainable anymore, and it's also not necessary anymore.
We were watching our parents, how they destroyed their life basically because father had to go to work and he never had time for his children. And mother had to care for the family, and she was still racing, like they were like a mouse in the wheel, hamster wheel, and they were still just rushing somewhere. And we've observed it, and we are tired of this. Our generation is already in between these two,
mm-hmm.
And we saw how the older people, the boomers, are complaining about our generation, millennials, how we are lazy and stuff like that. And we anyways were studying and really working hard, and now everything is breaking apart, and we are confused. We don't know how to grasp this reality.
And the millennials, our generation, I feel like we were still trying to kind of obey and do what our parents said.
Mm-hmm.
Go to university, work really hard. My father always said, never have as an empty space in your CV. You should at all times be employed in some way or another. There should never be an empty space where you just travel or do whatever. And we were still trying to fit into their vision, but we already know that it's not really working anymore. Most of the people in our age went to university, and after they get out of university, when they were at 28, just all their life only studying, and they were only in school, then they're also not really ready for the workforce, and nobody wants to employ them. Like, the system doesn't even make sense anymore.
Mm-hmm. Because you don't have an experience, so you cannot have a good job. You have to start from very beginning, like a person who has no school at all.
But nobody wants somebody like this, right?
Because you have too big degree for people. That happened to me.
Yeah. And the Gen Z is now a bigger contrast between our generation, the Gen X and the boomers before us. They're really not going to stand up for this anymore. They know that there needs to be a change. And I can also understand
I feel
them.
it. I think it's more like energy,
it's natural
which they carry
balance
with them. Yeah.
And I also understand when they have to really fight their position and their viewpoint on all this against the older generations, because the older generations are just going to judge them, and they're trying to force them into the same way that everything has been running until this point. So they have to resist by saying things that might sound a little bit arrogant, we're the generation of the future, and I don't care what you want from me, just get your job, boomer, do whatever you want, I'm not gonna work for you. And it creates a clash, right? But I very much have compassion, understanding for the Gen Z, because when you ask people at the deathbed, 9 out of 10 people will tell you, I should have not worked that much, I should have spent more time for me, with my family, with friends, done things that I'm interested in, followed my hobbies and passions, instead of just working the whole life.
You can also see it from perspective of those people who are now going to retire, that they are very insecure because they see that the youngest generation is not really willing to do the normal route, study, work, get kids, get job, get mortgage, and they don't support the financial system as those older people now are used to. So they are very scared, and that's
The
coming.
retirement.
Yeah, because they are scared that nobody's going to take care of them and nobody will be interested in them. And I understand this because if you are working for the system your whole life, dedicating to the system, and then there is coming this wave of, oh, we are going to put this system totally differently and this is going to be new, and I don't know how it's going to turn out for us and for you millennials and for the people who are now retiring. And there is so much insecurity in these people, and I totally understand them. So it would be very nice if we, the more mature generation, can be more open to these younger people, and those younger people could be more sensitive and value these people who were building the ground for the young generation now.
I don't think that the Gen Z doesn't care about the elders, but I already felt that the retirement system is not going to work any longer. My father came from a family of 7 children. His parents came from a family of 14 children. Then my father had 3 children. And now me and my siblings, who are all in the perfect age to have children, we don't have any yet. And it's just the pyramid is facing downwards. We are less and less people, and we are supposed to support all those elders above, and the system can already not work anymore. And also, back in the day when the older generation used to work, then they could live off of 1 income or maybe 2 incomes, but they were able to buy themselves a house, they were able to buy themselves a car, take care of their children, have enough for everything. And my parents were still able to get a house, but for our generation now and the younger generations, it's really hard to do this because the salaries didn't go up just as much as the prices for real estate and food and all that went up. So it's also difficult to be motivated to go to a 9-to-5 job where you know the salary which you will get will maybe just be enough to get you through paying rent for your own apartment, or it's maybe better if you still live with your parents because otherwise you're not able to afford it, you're not able to live on 1 income. And also this with the 42-hour work week, that's there's a deer.
It's a cutie. Very close today.
Not scared. And also with the 42-hour work week, it's not going to work anymore because I remember when I used to work 42 hours, 5 days a week, that me and all of my co-workers never had enough work to fill all of the 8.5 hours effectively. We were still having time off where we could be on our phone or where we could chat with each other. It was not a productive way of working this way, but still, if you came 5 minutes late, you would be judged. If you went 5 minutes early, you would be judged. And it's a big deal, you know, that you leave a bit earlier, that you don't make that many hours. But even if you just sit there in the chair for 5 more hours, for 5 more minutes, you would not be able to make effective work. You would just be sitting there and you wait until school is over, basically, right? As we know it. And that's absolutely useless for the companies as well. And they need to adjust. They need to adjust to the newer generations and listen to them because they're going to bring valuable input.
We wanted to address this issue also in our channel because it's not only about generational problems and sorting out, oh, you belong to the millennials, you belong to Gen Z, you belong to boomers or whatever. We are all in one planet, in one 3D reality here, and we are all needing to cooperate in creating the best place to live for us. And if we are still going to judge each other, if we are still going to point at each other, oh, you have these limitations and you have these limitations, Yes, it's nice to meet our limitations, only so we can grow, but we need to cooperate with each other in this planet Earth, in this 3D reality from much higher vibrations and create much more loving space for everybody, because we live this one life, so why not to make it nice for everybody? We need to really communicate with much more compassion, nobility, and this elegance in between each other. So because we are elegant being and we can be elegant being and we have all what it requires to stay elegant. We don't have to go anymore into these mid ages and where we had to fight for our lives and so on. We really can build something greater than before and care for other older people and younger people and exchange this valuable knowledge and life experience.
This is our natural state of being, and I know it from the relationship with my father, that if two generations are just so different and are not willing to accept each other, it's just constantly throwing fists at each other. We're not getting anywhere this way. But by nature, we are all very compassionate. We are all very supportive. The young support the elders give wisdom to the young. We are all very much working as an organism, and it's very valuable.
Even though you have nephews or kids who are 15 and 13, who are driving you crazy sometimes because you think you know how it is supposed to be, how things are correct and how things are incorrect. And they think that you don't know and they want to change your attitude, and it drives you crazy. Like sometimes I am having a little trouble to get over my nephew's expressions, but it's also part of the game, because I was taught so many times by my parents are boomers, how I have to behave correctly and according to what they required from me, that I absolutely forgot about me. So Gen Z, please be also considering that we were sometimes beaten up for these things as young kids. Not me, but a lot of people, and our parents especially, the boomers, for example. Nobody was cuddling with those people, with those children.
And the newer generations also always bring something new that the world needs. They might not be conscious of it, but there is a certain change. That's why we can split it into these different generations, because there's always something that they will bring. And now it's really a shift in this world where we will move back to being, back to living as humans, and not just living for the job, not just living for some corporation that we're trying to get rich and we just work there until we are dead, but actually that we also live and experience life, that we start to do things again that are important to us. Maybe that we have time to garden or to care for our house, to reconstruct, to cook, and be more social with one another.
To do some things which, for example, my father think it's absolute BS. Because for him, only the hard work and only the, I have no time sentences and so on are the ones which are like committing to success and nothing else.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because he was programmed this way.
But we are going there, we are moving there, that we are going to live more, that we are just going to be. And artificial intelligence is coming in the perfect timing, and it's a perfect balance now that the newer generation is also not willing to work as much anymore. This is nature, this is how nature balances itself.
I remember when I was at school and I had to memorize and repeat a lot of data, and now you just find it at the end of your fingertips, and you don't have to memorize such a quantity of data, so you don't have to disconnect from your body and from everything around you and just focus on your brain and on your mind and just keep it there until you are examined or tested by somebody else who will approve that you memorized this data correctly so you can forget it. So now we are skipping these things to the AI. The AI is making it easier for us, and we can focus on what actually really matters. And we can evolve in these areas.
Yes, and I think then we also have space to be more spiritual, to raise our consciousness as a collective, because we don't have to take care of those things anymore. And I wanted to also make a point that I see that a lot of Gen Z are more interested in manual labor, manual jobs.
It was a nightmare for my parents in my younger years to imagine that I would work as a gardener or I would do something manually. I had to be in office with the suitcase. You know, in the past people were wearing these suitcases. They didn't have laptops and stuff, but they were looking very cute with that in a suit. And it was a proper, like a person who studied, worked hard, and is creating some really, really important values. And now it is changing.
People are no longer willing to just sit in front of a computer the entire day. And jobs that AI can take over, like cutting the lawn and taking care of the house, doing some repairs, working with those data centers and all that physical labor, is going to be needed a lot more. And the Gen Z is also naturally more drawn to that. They don't want to sit in front of a computer anymore the entire day, and it's also not necessary.
I also find that Gen Z is also not super interested in going to gyms and spending their lifetime in a gym, because it's now super much in fashion, because it's like they need to have bigger sense about things. Why would they just be on a treadmill somewhere inside of the room and lift some weights where they can move freely outside in nature and just
use their body for things that the body was built for?
Yeah, and there is this gyms which you can go to.
Little box.
Yeah, in that box, and we've created it. I was wondering if somebody came from a different planet and saw us, that we go from like from our nice home with our loved ones, we go to the car, which is a box, we go to the gym, and we just do some weird lifting, and then we sit in front of computer 8 hours, and then we go to take care of our laundry and food, and then we go to bed, and then we do it all over again every single day. And I think Gen Z already points out things which are not really making any sense in our life, and they want to be quite heard, and they want us to see it. And I think it's very good for us. It's beneficial for everybody. Finally.
It happens for a reason.
Yeah.
Like, this is all in a divine order. And I also make a little prediction for the future, and I think that the generation after the Gen Z, or maybe the one after that, will also naturally not be interested in these things that we are addicted to now, with social media, with the phones, with that constantly being on the screen. It will become so exhausted for us, because we are all addicted to it, that they will naturally search for something else, and these things will become obsolete. And that's something that I feel will happen in the future. It all goes on the path that we will become more evolved as a human species.
And I believe that as we are going to evolve, and we will have a lot of free space, because we don't have to memorize quantities and quantities of data because of the AI, we might open up for the telepathic communication between each other, and we will absolutely be independent of these electronics and so on, because it is possible. It is working with the mother and the child, or with loved ones. You know that you sense when something is good with them, and you sense when something is not good with those people who you love and who you are connected to. And we are going to just naturally work on that. We believe that.
Yeah, we can already practice that.
And of course also regenerating our body through our mind, and through our electric body, and through our energetic and also
Heal.
electromagnetism.
Not just regenerate, but heal. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we have a very positive outlook for the future. Let us know in the comments how you see all this. We're really curious to hear from you. You can also exchange with other generations how you grew up, so we have a nice conversation with each other.
And I understand It was requiring in the past so much suffering, so much hurt, and we all have to forgive and we have to all let this go, because basically there is nobody in the beginning of this suffering and nobody at the end. We just have to take the whole package of the hurt and suffering and let it go. I've also had a lot of suffering and hurt, and I lost myself in this planet because I had to perform so much that I forgot who I am. And I believe a lot of millennials did that. And I hope we are going to watch all of us to be ourselves and watch it, observe it into life.
Thank you so much for being here with us, and if you would like to share some more time with us, we also have this video here for you next.